Noticing the touch of the breath at the tip of the nostrils. And the movement of the breath through the torso. And noticing the expansive quality of inhalation. And the releasing quality of exhalation. And perhaps also noticing the points of stillness in between. So that moment of pause at the end of in-breath, and then again at the end of out-breath. So natural invitations into stillness. And here we are at the winter solstice. So we've arrived at the still point of the seasonal year. So this would be akin to the pause at the end of the out-breath of the seasonal year, preparing for the in-breath to come, for the return of the light. So these 3 days or so of the solstice is when the sun appears to just be still in the sky. It doesn't seem to move. So it happens at the summer solstice and happens again at the winter solstice, this moment of pause. And I'll just share with you a few words from the poet John O'Donoghue about this winter solstice point. It's kind of opening us to the gifts of this pause. So he writes, "At the still point of the turning year, when the air is winter clear and the silence is alive, we come into the presence of the mystery that saves us from the nothingness. In this dark time, the eye begins to see, the soul senses its path, and the heart hears the invitation to renew itself in the gentle light of compassion." So let's invite the breath to deepen. And if it's comfortable, just exaggerate these moments of pause. End of in-breath, end of out-breath. So perhaps seeing them as an invitation into mystery and an opportunity to connect with something that isn't involved with either activity or rest, but something in between. Something that isn't filling up and it isn't emptying out, but it is something other. So a few rounds like this. So inhaling slowly, smoothly, and steadily, and then taking a pause. And exhaling slowly, smoothly, and steadily. And it could be that after a few rounds, this moment of pause just naturally becomes a little bit longer, helping you to somehow absorb stillness into your being. And then at the end of your next exhalation, just allowing the breath to return to its natural rhythm. And just see how you are here at this moment of pause at the end of the year. It's a good moment for reflection, for acknowledging the good things that have happened, the things that we're proud of in the past year, and also perhaps setting some intentions for the year to come. So just having that loosely in your mind as we begin to practice, along with this notion of somehow embodying stillness even in movement. Let's begin to turn the head from side to side now. Just loosening the jaw as you turn the head. Just relaxing the shoulders. Just aware of the length of your spine, of your midline. And how spine is responding to this turning of the head. How far down your back can you feel this movement? And just as we were observing with the breath, there's a movement of inhalation, a pause, a movement of exhalation. Here you might be noticing a movement of turning the head in one direction and then a momentary pause as you then change direction, move the head the opposite way. So again, just paying attention to moments of pause. And perhaps let's exaggerate those moments now. So next time head's turning to the right, just take a little pause there and see how pausing helps you to notice the experience a little more, and then a slow turn of the head to the left and a little pause, and a slow turn of the head to the right. So I'll just do this a couple more times. So a pause, and a slow turn of the head to the left. And once more, turning the head to the right, and you're pausing there. And turning the head to the left. And then head can return to center. You feel your body softening down into the floor, noticing points of contact between body and floor. So particularly the back of the head, and gently press the back of the head down into the floor. And then release that. And the back of the shoulders, pressing the back of the shoulders down. And releasing the back of the ribs. Press the back of the ribs down into the floor. And release. And the back of the pelvis, gently pressing the back of the pelvis down. And releasing. And notice your feet in contact with the floor. So you might have legs long, you might have knees bent. Either way, just pressing point of contact through the foot into the floor and releasing. And then press the feet down again, releasing. Press the low back down again, releasing the ribs down, releasing the shoulders down, releasing, and the back of the head down. And releasing. And then bring attention into your fingers, your thumbs, your hands, your wrists. And start to move your fingers and thumbs. A little dancing movement of fingers and thumbs. Just feeling into each of the joints. Feeling the space between the fingers. Just feeling hands in contact with the floor and how the movement affects that contact. And remembering that all the muscles required for moving fingers and thumbs begin in your forearms. See if you can trace the origin of the movement of your fingers and thumbs in your forearms. See if you can feel it. And then make fists with the hands, so fold the thumbs in and wrap the fingers around the thumbs and squeeze tightly. And then draw that tension up the arms and into the shoulders. And let's lift the back of the shoulders from the floor. And hold for a moment. And then melt that shoulder tension away. Relax the arms, relax the hands, relax the whole body. And then let's make fists again. Tight squeeze, draw that tension up the arms into the shoulders, lift the back of the shoulders from the floor so the head stays down. You might feel that you're pressing your low ribs to the floor, maybe even clenching your buttocks there a bit. And then melt all that tension away. Everything releasing, relaxing and letting go. And let's take that once more. So you're making fists. It's tensing the arms, lifting the shoulders. Just have a sense of squeezing everything in towards your midline, holding for a moment, and then completely releasing. And then let's stretch. So bring your straight legs together and arms up above the head. So you're reaching into toe tips, into fingertips. You're moving around your stretch, inside your stretch, yawning, feeling that squeeze of muscle to bone and enjoying a lengthening and a contracting happening simultaneously in different places. Yawning, stretching, connecting. So remembering that yawning is a really good way to reset mind-body connection and to refresh ourselves and to bring us into presence. And then from here, let's gather both knees in towards the chest. Let's hold the knees with the hands. And let the back of the body really soften to the floor. Conscious of breathing, so breathing into side ribs, breathing into your back, breathing into your belly. And as you exhale, everything is softening. So just a few moments to really arrive here. Again, looking for a quality of stillness. So even though the body won't be completely still, because of course there's the movement of the breath, and you might be gently bringing knees a little closer on exhalation, and maybe chest is broadening and chin is tucking, and so there are subtle movements going on in the body, even though we're just holding here. But you're looking for a quality of stillness inside that movement. And then let's place both feet down on the floor together. And then draw the knees back in towards the chest and give them a squeeze. And take that a few times. So feet touch down, whole body relaxes for a moment, and then knees draw in. And you give the knees a squeeze. And let the head be completely passive. So head and neck completely passive. Just responding to this movement of the pelvis. So what you'll probably notice is as the feet touch down, the pelvis is naturally tipping forward and your back is arching slightly. And as your knees draw in, the pelvis is tipping backwards and the spine is lengthening. And if the head is passive and allowed to respond to the movement of the pelvis, the chin will tuck down as the back is arching, so your neck lengthens as your low back arches, and then as the knees come in and the back lengthens, the chin will probably naturally push up, so the back of the neck is arching. So see if you can feel your way into the natural buoyancy of your spine. sort of this natural S-shape springiness of the curves of the spine. And just whichever pace you're going, slow it down a little bit. And be aware of the still points. So the moment when the feet touch the floor and there's a release, and the moment when the knees come in towards the chest and there's a squeeze. So you're feeling those still points inside the movement. And then next time feet are to the floor, let's pause. So feet about hip width apart. And rest the arms down by the sides. Just have the palms facing upwards. So arms at about a 45-degree angle from the sides of the body. Noticing body in contact with the floor. Which part of the body does attention go to first in response to that invitation? So why is that? Is it because it's the dominant area of sensation? Is it because that part of the body is uncomfortable? Is it because that part wants to communicate something to you? Just notice where your attention goes to first. And then simply press your right foot down into the floor. Firm press through the right foot. See what happens through whole body, just from pressing right foot down. And then release that press and push down into the left foot. And release that press. And the right foot pressing down. And releasing, and the left foot pressing down. And releasing. So go side to side a few times. And what you're hopefully noticing is that as you press down through, let's say, the right foot, that right hip starts to feel light on the floor. And then as you press down through the left foot, the left hip starts to feel light. So let's begin to exaggerate this little side-to-side tipping of the pelvis with the feet now by actively lifting the hip of the side where the foot is pushing down. So right foot pushes down and right hip lifts up with both knees pointing to the ceiling. And then you lower that hip, you push the opposite foot, the left foot, down into the floor, and you let the left hip float up. So take that one side to side a few times. Just noticing this relationship between foot pushing down and hip lifting up. And you're making perfect footprints in the floor. So inner and outer edges of the feet firmly anchored. And your kneecaps kind of reaching to the wall in front. So that hip, lifted hip, you're reaching that kneecap to the wall in front. And then continue with this same movement, but start to lead it now, less from the feet, more from the pelvis itself. A shift of weight across the pelvis. So rolling and pressing, right hip down will float your left hip up, and rolling and pressing your left hip down will float your right hip up. So keeping the focus across the pelvis. And it might be that you're also noticing what your rib cage is doing. So rib cage responding to this movement of the legs, the pelvis. And perhaps you could take a few now where you're leading the movement from the rib cage. So it's the same rhythm, the same movement, but the focus comes from the rib cage. So rolling and pressing right ribs into the floor. Now we'll lift left ribs, we'll lift left hip, and we'll press left foot into the floor. And then you roll and press the left ribs down, You have the same experience through the right side. And then let it all go. Just be still for a moment, be present. And keeping your right foot on the floor now, let's circle the right knee round. So here the hips are not lifting and lowering from the floor, but the pelvis will be moving around. So seeing if you can trace a circle with your right knee, foot staying in contact with the floor. And it might start to feel like the hips are kind of tracing a figure of 8 shape on the floor. Back of the pelvis there, tracing a figure of 8 on the floor. And then take that rotation in reverse. And then be still and noticing the quality of stillness through you. So again, we're looking for these moments of pause in between movements, in between breaths, in between thoughts. It's tuning into that quality of stillness that comes. So left foot stays on the floor. Let's see if we can circle left knee round. It might be a completely different experience to right side. And if you're right dominant, just make sure that you are making this movement with your left side and that you're not somehow sneakily leading it through your right side, which is what I tend to do with this one. So letting the pelvis move quite freely. We'll take that in the opposite direction. And of course, the side-to-side action of the circle might feel fairly easy, but it's the towards and the way part that feels a bit trickier. So do make sure that you're finding all 4 points there. And then be still. And be still. Enter into that pause. Enter into the mystery. And allow yourself just to feel. Turn your right palm to face downwards. Push the floor with your right hand. Lift your elbow, lift your shoulder. Slowly lower the shoulder down. Turn the palm to face upwards. Take a moment of pause. Repeat that a good few times on your right side. So you're going to push the palm down, lift the elbow, the shoulder, lower the shoulder with control, turn the palm to face upwards, completely relax. So keep going with it. Just let your breath be easy, be free. And let your left shoulder be completely relaxed. And then swap it over to the other side. So you're pushing that left palm down into the floor, lifting the elbow, the shoulder, slowly lowering the shoulder down. Palm turns to face upwards. There's a moment of release, and then you repeat it again. So keep going. And then let's work both shoulders together. So both palms turn to face downwards, shoulders lift up. Lower the shoulders down, turn the palms to face upwards, relaxing. So keep going with that one a few times. And see whether you can speed this one up now. So you're still honouring a moment of pause and release at the end, but somehow speeding the movement up. So palms turn to face down as the shoulders lift, and palms just very gently flip back up as the shoulders lower. So the head's staying on the floor, and then possibly speeding it up even more. Can you speed it up and somehow still maintain the precision of the movement? And then let that all go, palms facing upwards, shoulders relaxing. Be with sensation. How have your feet received this movement of your shoulders? So even though feet aren't involved, it could be that there's some sensation in the feet or some awareness in the feet that is directly in relationship to this experience from the shoulders. Let's go back to rolling the head side to side. So this was our opening gesture. So rolling the head with that awareness of that fleeting moment of pause when you reach one side and before you turn to the next side. Just aware of that moment of pause. Just see if the turning of the head feels any different. Hopefully a little smoother. Could be that the back of the shoulders are much more in contact with the floor now. And then be still, so head can come to center. Let's reach the arms up towards the ceiling. So you're looking up at the hands, hands are shoulder width apart, shoulders are resting comfortably on the floor. But let's just press down through the right shoulder a little bit into the floor, keeping arm long, and then release that press and press down through the left shoulder. And release and press down through both shoulders. And release. So you've got your feet positioned for bridge pose, so parallel, hip width apart, fairly close to the buttocks there with the heels. So let's push into the feet, lift the hips up a little way, not as high as you can go yet, and just tip the arms a little way to the floor behind you. Again, not as far as you can go. And then lower the hips down and return the hands to above the shoulders. So let's do that again. So lift the hips a little way, let the arms just travel about halfway towards the floor behind you. And then you lower the hips and you take the arms back up towards the ceiling. And then try that again. And then next time hips lift, they can go to their full range and perhaps the arms can come touch the floor above the head. So you can rest the backs of the hands to the floor maybe. Just pause there for a moment. You can push down through your right foot and release, and push down through your left foot and release, and push down through the back of right shoulder and release, through the back of left shoulder and release. And then keep the arms above the head as you thread the spine down onto the floor. So vertebra by vertebra coming down. If it's a pull on the arms when the hips come down, it could be that you prefer to have them sort of out and up on the diagonal, just open the arms out a little bit. It could be that arms stay close alongside the ears, but you want the arms resting fully on the floor. So either out a little on the diagonal or alongside the ears. And then let's bring both knees down towards the floor on the right side. So you're coming into a twist. You can turn your head to the left and gently press the back of left shoulder to the floor. And then come through center with your knees and go over to the other side. And come through center. And then press your feet down into the floor, both feet. And then release the press sort of fairly abruptly, so there's almost a little bounce through you. And press the feet down again, release abruptly, feel that little rebound. And again, and release the push and just let the body rebound and bounce. And then keep doing that, but perhaps speed it up a little bit. Press, release, a pulsing of the feet on the floor. so that you feel the soft tissue of the back of the body just moving across the bones. So bones of the arms, shoulder blades, rib cage, back of the pelvis. It's gently moving and releasing tension. So a little pulsing action, a press release, a press release, a press release. And then be still, and be with the after effect of that. So it generally creates quite a lot of inner sensation, that pulsing, because you're receiving a lot of sensory information through the back body. And then let's release the arms down by the sides and actually pin the arms into the side of the body now. So you feel your arms touching your sideways. And then let's bend at the elbows to point the fingertips to the ceiling. So the hands are waist width apart and they're facing one another. And activate the hands without making them rigid. You can spread the fingers a little bit. Make sure that hands are in line with wrists. You're not kinking at the wrists. And then press the back of the shoulders and the length of the upper arm down into the floor. Just notice what's happening in your back, in your spine. And then release that press. And then press the soles of the feet down. Notice what's happening in the pelvis. And release that press, and then do the two together. So press the upper arms and the feet down. Let your pelvis lift towards the ceiling and your upper back arch. So you're coming up into a bridge posture that you can maintain, height that you can maintain. You probably will want to turn your big toes inwards by 1 millimeter, because often the tendency is to turn feet outwards. And it could be that you're walking your elbows 1 millimeter closer in towards one another. So pressing evenly, right side, left side. Just notice if one side is stronger. Chin is tucking to the chest. And the spread of the toes is mirroring the spread of the fingers. You're taking a few conscious breaths here. It's holding to build strength. Noticing the pauses in between the breath. And notice the strength and stability that's coming into the body from the floor, even though you're in a slightly unusual shape here. Just receiving ground forces to be in this position with more ease. And then if it's easy, perhaps just rest the hands on the belly from here and lower your hips down nice and slowly. And when the hips touch the floor, whole body relaxing. And you're tracking the movement of the breath beneath your hands. Just coming back to that gentle inquiry that this solstice point invites about the year that's passed. What is there to feel proud of? What is there to celebrate about yourself? Now, even if, and particularly if there have been challenges in the past year, what is it that you can celebrate about yourself and the way you met those challenges? Taking a moment to acknowledge the year that's passed. And then staying aware of parts of the body that are in contact with the floor. Just gently tip off to the side and up to sitting. So you're tracking how points of contact are changing there as you're coming up to sitting. And let's sit with legs crossed if it's comfortable for you. Right leg in front. And just take the hands out to the side in line with the hips, maybe with your eyes closed. And you can push the floor a little bit with your fingertips, just to create a sense of lightness through your pelvis. So take some of the weight into your arms. Feel the crown of the head, particularly the back of the crown, reaching to the ceiling, so you're not tipping your chin up. And you're noticing your midline, your spine. And then release the press of the fingers. Let's touch the backs of the hands together above the head and raise the gaze, look up. Just lift the breastbone up there. And then bring your straight arms down in front of you. And then push the palms to the wall behind you. Rest the hands down on the floor behind you so you can have fingertips pointing outwards. Let's take a little curl forward of your spine. So head bows and belly draws back. Shoulders round. And then start to arch your spine. So you're going to squeeze your shoulder blades together. Lift your breastbone up. Raise your gaze. Push your belly forward. And really push the hands into the floor to lengthen through the arms. So pelvis is tipping forward a little bit there. And then soften that. Come off your hands. So into a twist to the right. So bring left hand onto right knee and right hand to the floor behind the back. And then let's take a twist to the left. So right hand on left knee, left hand to the floor behind the back. And then turn to face forward and place your right hand down on the floor, let it slide away from you. Left arm can reach up and over. And then coming to upright. And taking that to the other side. So sliding your left hand away from you. Arms coming up and over. And then to upright. And then catch hold your ankles with your hands, so same hand to foot. And perhaps we can lift the right foot up and then the left foot. And place the right foot down and the left foot down. So let's try that again. And you're noticing the pause. One foot has lifted and there's a pause. The other foot has lifted and there's a pause. See if you're able to maintain the balance. And then the left foot can come down, pause, the right foot can come down. And then let's do that once again. Right foot lifts, left foot perhaps, you pause, right foot comes down and left foot comes down. So sitting hopefully now with the left leg in front, opposite leg in front. So take the hands out to the side and that light push of the fingertips down into the floor. So you really come into your verticality. And just noticing the feeling tone that comes into you when you're sitting really tall, when you're finding your height, when you're really inhabiting the space that is afforded to you. So a sense of rightness and confidence and assertiveness. It's an interesting feeling tone when the spine is really tall. And then let's take the arms out and up, backs of the hands touching above the head, raising the gaze, looking up, lifting the breastbone, so you're lifting through front body. And then straight arms are coming down in front of you, and you're pushing the palms to the wall behind, so if you're pushing something away. And then you land the hands to the floor. The fingertips can be pointing outwards, and you round the spine. So a contraction of stomach muscles there. So consciously contracting stomach muscles so that you can then lengthen through stomach muscles and find an arch of your back. Yeah, so shoulders draw back, breastbone lifts up, belly pushes forward, arms along. And then release that. So come off the hands and into a twist to the left. So you're drawing that left shoulder blade in and down, and the spine stays tall as you twist. And then opposite direction, so you're letting the torso lead the twist rather than the head. And then facing forward. So left hand can come down onto the floor, and the right arm reaches up and over. And then to upright, and let's go over to the other side. And to upright. Catching hold your ankles. Lifting left foot, lifting right foot. Lowering left, lowering right. So still aware of pauses between. Perhaps you could make it a bit faster. See if you're able to do it more quickly, and possibly keeping both feet lifted And maybe one heel can come towards you, the other leg can straighten out, so it doesn't matter how straight, but you're just feeling this little side to side shifting. So our focus here is on balance, on finding the balance. Could be that you're circling one foot around the other, but the focus is not so much on the movement itself, but on your ability to balance here. And so playing around and testing your balance. And then feet can come down onto the floor. Let's straighten the legs out in front and give the legs a shake. And then come over onto all fours. And circle around your wrists and your knees. And circle in reverse. And then let's travel back into child's pose. So the inwardness of child's pose here is a good complement to this particular time of the year at the winter solstice, where the forces of nature are really gathering in and down in order to rest and to restore. Noticing the quality of this child's pose. And if child isn't a particularly comfortable place for you, let's see if we can rise up out of it just a little way and hug muscle to bone all through the body. And then release that squeeze and settle back into child's pose and just see whether that feels more comfortable. Unfortunately, we're not quite able to hibernate at this time of year. In fact, it's often a very busy time of year for a lot of people. So let's be aware of how it is to sort of draw up and out of this hibernatory inward position to all fours. So different quality in all fours, and then tuck your toes and lift your knees and your hips and come up into dog pose. And then down onto your knees to step the right foot through in between the hands. And then let's push the foot to the floor to take the arms out and up and touch the palms above the head. And then we bring the arms out and down to all fours and back into dog pose. Let's see how dog pose is, having just done a lunge sequence there on one side. And then back down onto the knees and into child's pose. Yeah, so back into the restful, hibernatory energy of child's pose. And at this time of year we are often drawn up and out and turned upside down and inside out and have to overreach or take big steps or whatever, and then we can come back to the restfulness of child. So using the sequence just as a little metaphor for life, and just noticing how you navigate through and where you feel comfortable, where you don't. So let's come up to do it on the other side. So through all fours, and just notice the difference between child's pose, all fours immediately, and then you're tucking toes, lifting knees and hips. You're up into dog pose. Obviously some effort required here in dog. You're pushing the floor. There's some engagement of muscles. Some paying attention, some recalibration to get yourself in right alignment. And then you're coming down onto the knees, stepping that left foot through in between the hands, taking the time you need to get the foot in the right place so it can support you as you take the arms out and up and touch the palms. So often we need to go slowly to get ourselves into the right place to feel supported and balanced. And then let's bring the arms down, step back to all fours, up into dog pose. Down onto the knees and gratefully back into child's pose. and through all fours, inner elbows facing forwards. Let's press the elbows down onto the floor and then lay the belly and the chest down in between the forearms and make a pillow with the hands. So coming to the earth, you can gently roll and press the right frontal hip bone to the floor, the left frontal hip bone to the floor. So just a little swing of the pelvis side to side. You can do one or two slowly, you can do one or two much more quickly, sort of light loose shifting. So just get yourself settled into position. And then rest your left arm down alongside you and bring your right arm out into a cactus shape. You can just turn your head and look towards your right hand. Yeah, so you've got a bend in the right elbow and the forearms reaching to the wall in front. And then you could just bring your right hand a bit closer to your face. So rather than right angles, just have the hand a little closer to the face. So you're looking towards your hand. And gently push into your right hand to float your right elbow up. And then, as if you're trying to squash something underneath the elbow, slowly bring it back down. And so you're doing it with a little bit of resistance. And then when the elbow touches the floor, let's relax. And do that again. So lift the elbow up. See how high it will comfortably go. And then imagine you're trying to press something with that elbow, to squeeze something. You're pressing the elbow down towards the floor. There's a little bit of resistance, and then when it touches the floor, you completely relax. Let's lift the elbow up again. Keep the elbow lifted, but squeeze the shoulder blade in towards the spine. And then release the squeeze. And then try again, and maybe you can squeeze the shoulder blade in at a slightly different angle. And then release the squeeze. And then try it again, another new angle. And then release the squeeze. Slowly lowering the elbow down with a little bit of resistance there, noticing where the sticky places are. And then when the elbow touches the floor and everything's relaxing, see if you can take a forward rotation of the shoulder in this position. So it might feel a little strange, a little disorganized to find your forward rotation here. And then backward rotation of the shoulder. And be still. And press your right leg down into the floor and lift your straight left leg up. And then lower that left leg down. Press your left shoulder into the floor and lift your chest and your head. So right elbow is going to lift up as well. So left shoulder's on the floor, chest and head lifting, you're looking to the right. And then lower that down. So let's just alternate those two once more. So press your right leg down to lift your left leg up. And release. And then press your left shoulder down to lift your right elbow, your chest and your head. So we'll turn to the right there. And then let's lower that down. Let's make a pillow again with both hands and rest your forehead on your hands. And then let's do that on the other side. So rest the right arm down alongside you and have your left arm out in a cactus shape, and you're turning your head to look towards that arm. And then the left hand can just come a little bit closer in towards you. Yeah. And then you push the hand down into the floor, and let's lift that left elbow up. So notice what that's asking of your shoulders. You're relaxed in your neck, you're relaxed through your right shoulder, and then you're pressing that left elbow down as if the air beneath it is thick and you're having to work quite hard to get the elbow to the floor. And just notice where it bounces about or stutters, or where you lose the movement. And then when the movement touches, or when the elbow touches the floor, you completely relax. And then again, let's lift the elbow up. Slowly and deliberately press it down towards the floor. See what this movement has to teach you about your neck and shoulder tension. You're releasing the elbow when it touches. And then we'll lift it up again to squeeze the shoulder blade in towards the spine. And then release the squeeze. And then repeat that, but squeeze in at a slightly different angle. And then release the squeeze. And then a third one, a third new angle. And then release. Elbow comes slowly down. And when it touches the floor, see if you can find backward rotation of the shoulder here. Notice where body's kind of complaining. Notice the places where you rush. Notice the places where you skip over. And notice the places where you're able to meet. Let's go in the opposite direction. And then be still. So pressing your left leg down into the floor, lifting your straight right leg up. And then lowering your right leg. And pressing your right shoulder to the floor to lift your left elbow, your chest and your head. So you're looking gently to the left side there. Shoulder stays on the floor, right shoulder. And then slowly come back down. Let's repeat it. So you're lifting right leg up and lowering. And then you're pressing right shoulder down to lift left elbow, head and chest. And lowering. And then make pillow with your hands again, rest the forehead. And breathe into your side ribs, into your back. And then let's bring the forearms in alongside the body again. To push up away from the floor. Coming back to all fours and then into child's pose. And then you can sit upright on your heels, so draw the hands in and sit upright if that's available to you. And then let's lift the hips, take the arms out and up and touch the palms. And then lower the hips and bring the hands down in front of the heart. So again, this is another way of transitioning from the hibernatory vibe of child's pose into a reaching out into the world. Let's repeat it. So you're lifting the hips, taking the arms out and up, and bringing the hands back down. And then perhaps once more. So inhaling, coming up. And exhaling, coming down. And in honour of kind of the inwardness of the season, we're going to do a slightly longer relaxation today than usual. And if you want, you could put yourself into a supported chest opening position before you go straight down onto your back to relax. So the way you could do that, hopefully you're not on a hard wooden floor, in which case you might need something to support your head. But you could roll up, so I've got two mats here, so it's a little bit easier for me, but you could roll up your yoga mat by about a third or a quarter, depending how much of a roll you want. So you'd have, you know, a roll, a third or a quarter. You don't want too much of a roll. And then you're going to have this kind of at the tip of your shoulder blades. So you're going to lie over it. So you're going to lie upwards. And you've got the roll, the sort of the base of the roll at the tip of your shoulder blades, so that your shoulders can rest fully on the floor. So you don't want the roll at the base of your ribs, and you don't want it so high up that your shoulders can't get to the floor. So you need to kind of jiggle yourself about a little bit. So you've got the tips of the shoulder blades are kind of on the base of the roll. The back of the shoulder blades are on the floor. And then the arms can rest out to the side. And you have your feet about hip width apart, probably knees bent and feet flat to the floor will be more comfortable for the angle of the pelvis, but you can have legs long if you want to. So you just get yourself into position. And if it's not comfortable, you know, if you can't get it to feel comfortable, then perhaps you lie with your legs up against the wall or resting on a piece of furniture. And so it's important that you're comfortable. And you might just want something, a pillow or something under your head if you're lying on a hard floor, but you don't want the pillow to be so high up that it's kind of stopping the alignment of chest opening. So just getting yourself into position. So into a position that you can rest in comfortably, just the next 2 or 3 minutes here. And if you've managed to set yourself up so that you're lying over the roll here and the chest is slightly open, just take a few conscious breaths with awareness of your side ribs and particularly the back of the ribs. So you have the kind of sensory cue, the tactile cue of the roll to breathe into. So you can be consciously sort of pushing ribs into the roll as you inhale, and they just naturally expand. And then you're releasing as you exhale. So conscious of your breath in this very open-hearted, expanded position. And remembering what it is that you're celebrating about yourself as a result of the year that you've had. What's to be celebrated. So just holding yourself in this very open-hearted, compassionate way. So celebrating, and perhaps from a place of open-hearted trust, just naming something that you would like to call into your life next year. So the solstice is a good time to acknowledge what's past, what's actually happened, and also to set intentions about what we would like to bring into our lives, or what we would like to experience or receive, or how we would like to move through the world. So just as you're resting here, taking slightly deeper breaths than usual, and just holding yourself very tenderly from a place of open-heartedness, also just name 1 or 2 things that you would like to call in. And you don't need to think too much about it, just whatever comes to mind. So just another minute or so here now. And then becoming aware of fingers, of toes, just make some little movements. If you're resting over that roll, just press the back of the ribs consciously down into that roll and release the press. And it could be that you push down through right foot, lift right hip a little bit. So rolling and pressing left side of rib cage into that roll, and then you can swap it around the other side. So press into left foot and lift left hip a little bit, just roll and press right side of ribs into the roll, and then you're back through center. And to come out of the pose, just tip your knees to whichever side. So just as you would normally, roll up away from the floor. And so you roll off towards a fetal position and you push yourself up from your top hand, and then you can kind of unroll your mat and come down onto your back. So just coming into a neutral position now. And if you're lying with legs up against the wall, could be that you prefer to come out of that position now. You might want to come over into child's pose. So if having had chest open possibly felt a little exposing, you could sort of turn inwards and rest in child's pose if it's comfortable for you. So just going into our last few moments of quietness now. And then I'm just going to read those words from John O'Donoghue again to see whether they land in you slightly differently as a result of the practice. And we've been focusing on these moments of pause and taking a slightly more restful approach to movement and exploring the idea of moving from a place of stillness. So just seeing how the words land. So at the still point of the turning year, when the air is winter clear and the silence is alive, we come into the presence of the mystery that saves us from the nothingness. In this dark time, the eye begins to see, the soul senses its path, and the heart hears the invitation to renew itself in the gentle light of compassion. And as you focus your attention on your breathing, you might like to mentally repeat the words, I breathe in light and I breathe out peace. So at this dark time of the year, I breathe in light and I breathe out peace. And it could be that time isn't pressing upon you, and if you're feeling settled and relaxed, you could stay here a little bit longer. But if it's time for you to perhaps start to move and to get up from your mat and go off into the rest of the day, then just start to bring some light movement into fingers and toes, and to find your way into a stretch. And if you're on your back, you're hugging your knees in towards the chest and tipping yourself off to the side and up to sitting. And then we'll offer ourselves and each other